Okay, brilliant. I'm going to start off with just a little bit of a funny story because I went to a Turkish barber's this week, and the guy couldn't speak a word of English. And I asked for a side parting to be put in here. And he shaved it right up to there. So I've got a bit of a funny haircut. It's like really out of the norm. So, but my 10 minutes is I'm just going to talk from the heart. I haven't really prepared anything. I do a lot of public speaking at mental health events. So I'm just going to talk you through my story and how I ended up doing this. Okay. And I'm going to start with a question. Don't answer, but why do women live longer than men? Okay. Is it because they work harder or you work harder? Is it because you deserve to? Is it because you value a strong support network? Or are you just better at asking for help? Now, in around about August 2019, I had been a city trader. I was working on the stock markets in London. And that kind of lifestyle is, you know, you work hard and you play hard. Unfortunately, my fiance at the time partied a lot harder. And as a result, she left me with 2 children on my own. So I couldn't work in London anymore. So I had to look for alternative work. And I'll never forget the first school run. It was like the chaos at Southend Pier. I've never seen so many children running around all over the place. And I pulled into the car park and I saw a spot and I thought, brilliant. So I've gone driving into the spot and I didn't realise there was a hidden ditch. So I had to get towed out. So that was my first experience of the school run. Now, I managed to get a job working for a company called St James's Place. And I started there, but within a very short period of time, I realised I made the wrong decision. At the same time, I was picking up on the fact that my eldest boy was extremely far behind the other children in the school. So I've got a very close friend of mine who's a celebrity personal trainer. So I reached out to her and she introduced me to one of the leading experts in ADHD in the country. January 2020, I was able to get the first diagnosis of my boy's ADHD. Unfortunately, the children's mum continued to drink aggressively, and we had the first of 3 suicide attempts. The first 2 were cries for help. The third one was very, very serious. And we had quite a lot to deal with. COVID, I did 125 days of isolation with 2 children, homeschooling, trying to work, hold down a job, earn a living. And it was pretty tough. Then we came out of lockdown and I got the second diagnosis for my son's ADHD. So I applied to the council for an educational healthcare plan. And I just got, computer says no. And that was the first of 3 rejections. At the same time, I was going through a custody battle for the children with my ex-fiance. Again, the first of 3 court hearings. Work continued to pile the pressure on me, despite all this going on in the background. Even though I was self-employed, I still had targets, I was still being managed. It just did not seem like a self-employed role. I couldn't do anything other than working for the firm. And I was under constant investigation by the firm. I was under 3 investigations. The first one was for non-declaration of a protected police caution that had happened 15 years earlier, where actually I was a victim of a serious crime. The second one was for a speeding ticket. And the third one, which dragged on for nearly a year and a half, was for an application of a bounce back loan. Now, I managed to get custody of the children. And after a tribunal, I managed to get my son's educational healthcare plan. I also was having therapy, and the therapist advised me to get out of that job and move to the South Coast and start a new life. And I was about to do that. The problem was, though, I wasn't paid income, I was paid in loans. And I'd accrued about £20,000 in debt with the firm, so I couldn't leave. So I managed to get the debt paid off, which was a significant stress for me. But at the same time, they then put the final investigation onto me for the bounce back loan. And I was interviewed in my own house by 3 compliance officers via Teams 3 days before Christmas. So I couldn't relax over the Christmas period. And in February 2022, I was rushed to hospital following a seizure, which was work-related stress. The doctors advised me that this is your body telling you enough is enough. You need to get out of that job. Couldn't get out of the job because they hadn't closed the investigation. In April, I was called into an office, accused of fraud, and interrogated under a false pretense. I was invited to a meeting on the basis that it was a catch-up meeting to talk about my mental health, but I walked into a full-on compliance meeting, unprepared, not ready for it, no representation. About a month later, I was called back into Cambridge. They threw me under a bus, terminated me, but did it in a way which almost made it impossible for me to work in the industry again. At that particular point, I hit a real low, and I didn't know what I was going to go and do. The uncertainty of finding another job, whether or not I'll be able to get back in the industry, what I was going to do, what direction. But again, I reached out for help to my friends Lisa and Rachel, and they got me, changed my diet. I started to do lots of exercise, and a friend of mine who works at the National Career Service just provided me with a lot of help and support. In September, I got a position as an independent financial advisor at a firm called Aventa. It was a real startup company. It was just to get my foot back into the industry after what had happened at St James's Place. And they were very, very supportive from the start. But again, I wasn't paid an income. I was paid in loans against future business, but not quite on the same level. I said to them, keep it to the minimum amount as possible, just so I can survive, because I didn't want to go 20 grand into debt with another firm. At the same time, the children's mum had been arrested for drink driving, assaulting an emergency worker. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. So I was referred to the Children's Society to help me understand the illness, the disease of addiction, but also as well putting boundaries to assist her with getting better. So I made a decision to block all contacts with the children's mum. And at the time, I didn't realise the impact that that would then have on me, because I was literally in a position with no support. The children's mum, although she was flaky, did do little bits and pieces with them, but that meant I would have to take full sole responsibility for the children. I didn't realise the long-term effects of everything that I'd gone through would have on my mental health. And I was referred to a therapist for low-intensity cognitive therapy, but I was suffering severe flashbacks, nightmares. I became quite aggressive, and I was very, very emotionally unstable. So I was referred to a high-intensity cognitive therapist who's effectively diagnosed me with traumatic stress disorder because of everything that I've gone through. And he kind of explained it in a way that if you had an allergy to peanuts, you'd only need to eat a small peanut and you'd have quite a severe allergic reaction. Well, with the generalized anxiety that I developed, uncertainty has an effect on me. And a lot of it I don't remember. I've got no control over it. And the therapist said that's natural because of what you've been through. You've been a frontline soldier for far too long. You've taken on too much, and it's now causing you to have these problems. And the mind, you can't fix it without professional help. So it's like trying to fix a motorbike. And if you don't know how to fix a motorbike and you're still riding around on it, it's going to start breaking and falling apart and get worse and worse and worse. So you need professional help. So at the moment, I'm in high intensity cognitive therapy, and I can't have any stress in my life at the moment. So I left my job on very, very good terms. Because of the nature of the business, I can get a bit of business, but it may take 3 months to issue. I didn't want to take on any more debt with the firm, because unless I see business actually being issued, I'm just accruing a big debt. So we came to really, I mean, I couldn't have left on better terms. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. I've got so much support from them that they bought the pipeline off me, cleared the debt, and I've got a clean slate with them. They're going to give me a fantastic reference and everything I need to look to get another job. One of the things that I did, which was probably my biggest mistake, was I started to drink to cope with the stress, the nightmares, and the anxiety. And it was, I didn't realise, but it was actually making it worse. And the therapist said to me that where you drink now, your body automatically puts you into stress mode because you've been coping with stress with alcohol. Every time you touch alcohol now, your body just naturally thinks you're stressed. So I made the decision to go into Alcoholics Anonymous. It's not that I'm an alcoholic, but it's better to think that I'm an alcoholic than pretend I'm not and sit indoors and drink 2 bottles of wine on my own. And from the fellowship, I've got a massive network of friends now. And it's just giving me something to focus on in terms of my recovery. The therapist can help me obviously understand the mind, but the Alcoholics Anonymous will keep me off the alcohol. So I'm slowly getting myself back on track. I get my exam result next week, which is the highest level of examination certificate you can get in financial services. So if I've passed that, you know, it will open up a number of doors for me. So I'm under no stress and no pressure to find another job. I'm actually eligible for disability living allowance and other benefits, which are just supporting me. I've got some money from the pipeline that was sold. So there's no urgency, no stress. And slowly I will be working with the therapist to deal with the PTSD, the tools that I need to cope with future uncertainty. And it's like having a phobia of dogs. If I had a phobia of dogs and my next door neighbour had a dog, and every time I walked out of the house, the dog started barking at me, it would get to the point I wouldn't leave the house. And with all the uncertainty, I found myself becoming quite isolated indoors. And that's when I started to drink and the problem started to not accumulate, but, you know, the anxiety and the depression got worse and worse and worse. So I'm actually in a much better position. For the last 2 weeks, I haven't stopped smiling. I've been sleeping 8 hours a night, which is, I'm still wake up from time to time, but it's not the same as waking up after a nightmare or having a flashback. It's a nice way of waking up. So in terms of things like referrals, I'm not really taking any at the moment, like you, Louise. You know, I'm just taking some time out, but I'm still happy to refer to you guys. I was speaking to a guy in AA the other day, and he's trying to get some protection for a new mortgage, and the bank have declined him because 6 years ago he wasn't clean. 6 years ago he had a drink problem, and because the doctors have got records of that, it's very difficult for him to get the protection that he needs. So I'm going to have a chat with Mike Douglas. He may be able to help, and then that's a referral that I can pass to him. So over the course of the coming weeks, you may not see me as regularly because I've just got to focus on other areas of my life at the moment. But I really do appreciate you all being there. I appreciate you all listening. And, you know, I'd still like to keep in touch. The WhatsApp group, still do the LinkedIn stuff and all together. And, you know, because I'm going to be putting some LinkedIn posts saying I'm looking for new opportunities and all that sort of stuff. A pass exam, that'll be going on LinkedIn. And that's really where I kind of am at the moment. I am considering legal action against St James's Place on the basis of, what's it called? Basically a personal injury claim, which I think I can claim under PTSD. So I'm speaking to some solicitors about that. Alex helped me out as well, because I may also look into the fact that technically I wasn't self-employed, I was a worker. I was, you know, there were rules that I had to abide by. And, you know, as a self-employed person, you have the freedom to do as what you want. That's the risk you take with being self-employed. Otherwise, pay me a salary. So I'm going to look into that as well. And yeah, just going to take some time out, go and enjoy myself, go for lots of walks, plenty of nature. Yeah, any help and support you guys can offer will be greatly appreciated. And that's my 10 minutes. It might be a bit early, but that's all I wanted to say today.
No, thank you, Rob. It's really, really brave of you to share everything. Like, you've been on quite a journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does anybody have any comments, questions?
No, really just to say, echo what you said, Louise. Rob, that was incredibly brave of you to share all that, and yeah, you've got to take the time you need, mate, and also, you know, yeah, do see what you can recover, because yeah, it does sound like they treated you pretty rough, to be honest. And I mean, Alex would know far better than me on things like that, but it does sound. Yeah, so yeah, all strength to your elbow, mate, and you know, yeah, take the time you need.
Cheers, mate. Thanks.
Obviously, anything that we can do to support, we are here. We're your cheerleaders.
Yeah, thank you.
It's great to hear how well you're doing, because you've been through so much and you've taken such positive steps to kind of put yourself in the best position, so that it's that saying, isn't it? If you can't pour from an empty cup. So if you're feeling not good, then like you're not gonna be able to be there as presently and stuff for your children as well. And yeah, I think it's really brave, like the steps that you've taken as well. So thank you for sharing.
Cheers.
I think the key word you said was any help you can get. Well, yeah, you can always swing in my direction. All different therapy toolbox, tricks, hints, tips, strategies, or join Team Jensen. You know, physical challenges do different dynamic to what you're doing already. It's good to trick your brain. Sometimes we make a pathway which is so familiar that then it becomes something that works against us. So every now and then we just have to chop and change and just really get it firing on different areas of your life, which is what you're doing. And the more you interrupt it, the better you're going to make this new neural pathway, which is open to possibility, open to receiving more to you, because you're giving out so much. Allow people to help you. And if they do offer you something, then it's a step forward, because if you receive that help, then you can then better yourself in whichever dynamic you're looking at. So yeah, definitely. I've dropped in the chat when we can have a time to catch up next week. Obviously, this week was a little bit up and down as we go in Team Jensen. Yes, a lovely roller coaster. But next week, back into meeting zones and checking out where we can best help you. I mean, you know, I'll do my best, but then that's my capacity. So more muscles, mind, and challenges, sort of finding ways through. But like everyone else said, it was really brave of you sharing. It gives you honesty, and I feel like when you do that, the authenticity of it allows others to step forward that can be a better place to help you, rather than people that could waste your time, which I'd hate that to happen.
Thanks, Kim.
Mike, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, just a quick one, Rob. Well done, mate. As everybody has said here, for being so brave and sharing your story, mate. Sounds like you've been through a real ordeal, really. And it's not just one thing. As everybody, I'm sure here, we're all quite, you know, we've all seen quite a lot of life. I'm not going to say we're all old. I'm not going to go there. But we've all experienced a lot of life, and you know, sometimes what it throws at you, as you've said there, you know, it has a knock-on effect, doesn't it? And you can only take so much. You know, without going into too much detail, I had an issue with that. Blokes especially, we're the world's worst because we're expected to cope, you know, and then what we do, if we can't deal with something, we box it up, you know, and then that box will just go in the corner, then something else will happen, you put it in a box, that goes in the corner. Eventually something will happen and all of those boxes just come tumbling down. And then you end up in a situation where you think, you know, Christ, what has just happened? You know, suddenly you can't cope with anything. You can't make any decisions because suddenly all of these boxes are all over the floor and you don't even know where to start. It is really common. It's a lot more common than people realise. But at our age, if you like, with all of the things we've experienced in life, you know, and all the things we haven't been able to deal with, we box up, as I say. It comes to that point, and it sounds like you're doing so well, mate. Honestly, the fact that you've realised as you've gone along, oh, actually, I do need help, and it's not just for you, as you've said. You've got two lovely young boys. You know, it's a family unit. You know, without you, there is no family. So you're seeking help, and you're doing so well, mate. And as everybody here has said, we're all here for you. You've only got to ask, mate. Whatever we can do, we're here for you, mate. But you know, well done. You've done so well to get where you are with all the ordeals that you've had to be in a position that you are now. You've done really well, mate. Well done.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. Thanks for your comments. Cheers.
No worries, mate.
Absolutely, yeah. Echo everything that everybody said. Thank you, Rob. Shall we stop recording?